Chapter 17, Running Out of Time. The holding room for boys was overflowing. Most of us spent the night on the floor. I had my blanket, but I didn't even try to sleep. Partially, it was the cold concrete, but mostly it was cold fear. What would they do to me? And how long would they keep me? A little while, like Miguel, or a long time, like Julio? With Julio, it was 4 months. If they kept me all summer, with my mother going to Silao every month and returning home with no money, it was all over. Let them deport me soon, I prayed, so I could somehow try to cross again before the deserts got too hot, before my mother had to sell the goats and the chickens. Morning came. The boys were all restless and starving. Somebody said they weren't going to feed us with the kids inside until after we were admitted. Food arrived after all. Everybody got a paper sack from McDonald's. Egg sandwiches, just like the ones at the McDonald's in Silao. I ate every bite and licked the cheese off the wrapper. Is it like jail inside? I asked the boy next to me, who was picking at a scab on his arm. What did you think? He said sarcastically. I closed my eyes. I was too low to even get up and move. I had to wait a long time to be admitted. When my turn came in the middle of the afternoon, they took my fingerprints. I wouldn't give them my name. A Border Patrol lady named Miller led me down a hallway with many side rooms where kids were being questioned. The gabacha pointed to a bench in the hallway and said, "Take a seat." Her voice was rough, like her pocked face. "We're too busy to do anything with you," she said, "even to file a plan of return for a juvenile." I didn't know what she was talking about. I was surprised she spoke such good Spanish. "There's no room," she said tiredly. "If you complain, then we'll have to take you." Take me? Keep you. If I complained, they would keep me. It didn't make any sense. How long would you keep me if I complain? Months, probably. Eventually, you will get an escort back home. You want to complain? No, I said, finally understanding. Can I go straight to the border instead? That's what I've been trying to tell you. We'll drop you in Nogales. It looked like the migrant lady hadn't slept either. I won't complain, I said. She looked me in the eye. You'll go straight home from there. Straight home. Good, go home. Don't try again, okay? I looked at her blankly. She pointed to the door at the far end of the hall, which a guard was holding open. I reached for my backpack and joined 2 other boys heading that direction. Outside the door, 2 buses were waiting. A couple hours later, I was on the border, passing through Nogales, Arizona. We drove by the Walmart. Above on the hills loomed the much larger city of Nogales, Mexico, which I knew all too well. We got out of the bus at the side of the port of entry. I followed along as we were led like cattle through a fenced gate and chutes. I was too stunned to think about what to do next. It was clearly evening, but hot. All that deep snow in the Chiricahua Mountains seemed like I had dreamed it. So too the journey with Miguel. Being with Julio, that was from another lifetime. I was numb. I was ashamed. I had failed. The green shirts had nothing to say. We were walked to one last gate, which was padlocked. It was open and we filed through. I watched the gate close behind me, heard the lock click shut. The high metal wall ran as far as I could see. It was a strange feeling being locked inside your own country. I had arrived too late for comida at the soup kitchen. I spread out my blanket in the familiar arena of the Plaza de Toros. I missed Julio, who had slept right here. I missed Miguel. In the morning, I carried sacks for people at the port of entry. I made enough to buy an Arizona map. It wasn't nearly as good as Miguel's. It didn't show the dirt roads, the wells, and the springs, but it showed the border towns and some of the mountain ranges, the Chiricahuas, but not the Dos Cabezas. It had the interstate highway, and it had Wilcox. I already knew a lot about Miguel's route. Next time, I would follow it all the way to La Peraflaca. At least I wouldn't run into snowstorms. The problem would be the heat. The map was from a little store where people bought soda, candy, magazines, and lottery tickets. Every morning, a small tear-off calendar showed the new date. It made me sick every time I went to check. Time and the sun were my enemies. Every day, the sun was a little higher in the sky. The streets of Nogales were hotter. I had to get going. But after a week in Nogales, my pesos added up to less than $5. I needed bus money east and food for 10 days or 2 weeks. April dragged by. By the end of the month, it was broiling. I didn't have nearly the money I needed. All I was doing was surviving one day to the next. I'd had 6 weeks to get ahead of the heat, and I hadn't done it. I thought of Teresa back home. My sister wouldn't be very proud of me now. The 1st of May was unfolding like any other day. During comida, in the crowded soup kitchen, as my eyes wandered down the long table, they caught something familiar. On the opposite side, way down near the end, sat a boy with a dirty yellow baseball cap and hair that was blonde, where it was growing out dark underneath. For a second, I thought it was Rico, but that couldn't be. I looked again. His nose, the freckles on his cheek. I ate my last bites without blinking, without tasting my food. Rico had left Los Arboles in a yellow Lakers cap. The boy got up to leave, empty tray in his hand. He was headed in my direction. My heart jumped out of my chest. "Hey, Rico," I cried. "How are you? How have you been?" His eyes landed on me. "Victor, I don't believe it. I don't believe it." Outside the parish hall, we fell on each other like we were dying in the desert and had just discovered water. "Am I happy to see you?" I said, laughing and crying and embracing my friend. "Same here, only more so. What in the world are you doing here, Turtle?" "Crawling north. I thought you were in Tuscan, cleaning the swimming pool, surrounded by beautiful girls." "I almost got there. I got to Phoenix. I made it to Tuscan. I saw it from inside a Pereira." Rico looked at me with newfound respect. "I don't believe you, Mano. You've been to the other side and been deported. Were you trying to find me?" "I was trying to find work." "Who gave you the coyote money?" "Didn't have any. At first I was by myself, then with a kid from Honduras, then with a mojada from Guanta, traveling on his own. He got caught, then I got caught. It's a long story. What about Fortino and the others you left with? Where are they here?" We got split up. I've been on my own too." Rico's nose was peeling. His lips were chapped. His hands torn up. "You look pretty bad," I said. All this time, I was sure you had already shook the hand of Mickey Mouse. I grabbed him by the tail, and he turned around and bit me. "How long have you been in Nogales?" 6 days. Rico pulled a peso coin out of his pocket. "Let's flip." "For what?" "To see who tells his story first."